So today we celebrate a man in whom there's lots of different aspects, one might say different personalities. We have the beloved disciple who, according to the gospel, he wrote as someone who's there, loved by the Lord, and yet young, asking questions, sometimes appearing a bit bemused. And then we have the evangelist, the one whose narrating style, as with all narrators, has a knowledge that perhaps is not given to those characters within the text, and even offers theological reflections even on what the Lord has said. And then we have the apostle, the one who writes these letters, the one who is sent to bring the good news to the world. And so when we think of John, perhaps we can think of him as someone in whom there is an integration of experience and expectation. Someone who has walked with God, and having come to know that he has walked with God, can speak of the teaching he has heard with confidence. We can trust the witness that he gives. We can believe, we can come to believe. These aspects, this sort of, if you might say, awareness, growing teaching, pedagogy that God does of John is present in the scriptures that we read that John writes. That which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes. So the person, the Christ, the friend, the teacher that John comes to know is God. That's John's conviction. But more, that fact enables John to bring joy to other people. So we see in that sense that transition or that growth or that growing awareness. But I think it's no more clear than in this passage from his own gospel, which speaks about the resurrection, the culmination, the vindication of God's work in the world. Now, the way it's presented to us, we see the characters in the story, which includes this beloved disciple, which includes John himself at this level, seeing the empty tomb and believing. But of course, this isn't even the end of the paragraph. This isn't even the end of the scene of these two apostles at the tomb. Because we might ask, what do they believe? What have they seen? All they have seen is an empty tomb. And so the scriptural promise that John comes to recognize is not yet there. It's beginning. The pedagogy of God, of his people, is only beginning in the empty tomb. Because this scene continues and concludes, for they did not yet understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Thus, once more, the disciples departed to their homes. There's a pausing, there's a bemusement almost here. The characters of Peter and John that John comes to writing about himself in this moment, do not yet understand the scripture. And so we see the pedagogy of God coming to fruition. Experience transforms the not yet into the now for John. And that's why only a few verses later, John can summarize. There are many things that Jesus said and did that I haven't written, that are not written in this book. These were written so that you may believe